F1, directed by Joseph Kosinski, is the follow-up to his 2022 smash hit Top Gun Maverick. That is a movie that took over the world, and he is returning to us with another action-packed, heart-pounding thriller, harkens back to an older time period in filmmaking. F1 tells the story of Sonny Hayes, a washed-up, hired gun kind of driver who drives for all these certain teams and never is tied down, but he's called back by an old friend, Javier Bardem, to race in Formula One once more. I, famously, this is probably the take I've gotten the most shit for, the thing that so many people hound me for, I'm not a fan of Top Gun Maverick. I think that movie is shallow, I think it is pandering, I think it is nothing special outside of the VFX, and something like Mission Impossible has been doing what that movie claims to do for years and years and years. I don't think it's a bad movie per se, it's just a very, very average one that people were clamoring was the best thing in the world, and I just could not disagree more. That doesn't mean, however, that I wasn't excited for F1. In fact, much to the contrary, I was way more intrigued by this concept than I was by Top Gun Maverick. While this is taking a tried and true formula, pun not intended, this movie is an original story. It's something new. It's something exciting. It's something that we don't get a ton of. It felt like the kind of movie that Joseph Kosinski was trying to emulate with Top Gun Maverick, and now he gets to make one of his own. Brad Pitt also felt like the natural choice to star in a movie like this. All signs kind of pointed to this being the next summer blockbuster. And for all intents and purposes, this movie was that. I don't think it's fantastic. I have issues with Joseph Kosinski as a director that I will get into a little bit later that ultimately hold me back from probably ever loving anything he's going to put out. With that being said though, this is easily my favorite film of his. The story is pretty timeless here. It's full of cliches and the usual shtick with sports films, but it does it in a way that feels heartfelt and genuine, and I ended up getting wrapped up into it. I really like Desmond Idris in this movie. I think that he brings a lot of charm to the role. I think that he fits in well with this cast, and I was always rooting for his character and on the edge of my seat every time he was on screen racing. Brad Pitt was okay. I think he was a little miscast. He had some odd choices of line delivery every once in a while, but I still think he got the job done. It's not his best performance even by a long shot, but he fits the bill of the film. Kerry Condon is fantastic as always. Javier Bardem provides a good performance. We get a lot of, A-list actors working off of each other and kind of having fun. They make the movie more enjoyable to follow along with, even when the story goes down roads, again, pun not intended, that feel all too familiar. That's not really why anyone's coming to see this movie. We are all going to see F1 to see the racing sequences, to witness pure, heart-thumping thrills at its most refined and its most archaic. These kinds of films are very popular because they're the easiest ways to build tension. Sports are naturally tense and exciting and fun, so making a film about them and being able to cinematically shoot sports events, races, games, whatever they may be, is always going to get the audience's hearts going. We saw that with Top Gun Maverick, and with this film, I think he kicks it up a notch. Kosinski feels more confident with his direction, and I think that those sequences really are obviously the lifeblood of the movie, but also make the story worth following. I found myself not only invested in the lives of our two protagonists, the racers, but also the owner, the crew members, the pit crew. All of them really had an interesting role to play, and I think that Formula One as a sport is something that we don't get to see enough of just because I'm American, and obviously that's not as big of a thing over here as it is in Europe, and it's really interesting how that team dynamic works and how Joseph Kosinski chose to portray that team dynamic. Where the movie falters for me is when it gets quiet. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's a runtime issue. I would genuinely watch a behemoth like this if they kept me engaged more often. Again, everything having to do with the races, Everything having to do with the car, with Brad Pitt's relationship and Desmond Idris' relationship with each other, Kerry Condon's character, all of that stuff when it involves the racing, the mechanics of that, the psychological aspects of that, the emotional toll it takes, and the physical toll it takes on your body. All of that stuff is super interesting, and I really loved being a fly on the wall for that. Everything else outside of it really felt pointless. It doesn't help that Kosinski, or his editor more or less, likes to edit his scenes in ways that feel like Netflix reality TV shows. These moments are filled with these empty, droning house songs that really just grind on your nerves and feel so corny and make the moment lose any sort of brevity or nuance. And I wouldn't normally bring this up with a sports film because, you know, they're not really ever going to be the highest form of cinema or anything like that. They can be, but you know what I mean. And here, just that this movie could have taken itself a bit more seriously. It could have toned down those parts. It would have had a little more credibility for me. Ultimately, what holds F1 back from being one of my favorites of the year, fantastic, something we haven't seen before, is those moments of pandering to a mainstream audience. It's obvious from the first sequence of the film that F1 wants to be the next summer blockbuster. It wants to be what Top Gun Maverick was, and I think what's going to get in the way of that is Kosinski's reliance on cliches and pandering moments and stuff that just fills your movie with cheesiness and where it shouldn't have been. It didn't sink this thing for me like Top Gun Maverick. I wasn't rolling my eyes the entire time. I was definitely gripped throughout most of it. I just really couldn't get around those moments, and I never felt myself fully locking into the film and truly loving it. While certainly flawed, I do have to say F1 was a really enjoyable time. I think that it's a great movie to see in the theater. It's very mindless, it's very visually gorgeous and all of that fun stuff. I wish there was more under the surface with these kinds of movies, specifically Kosinski's films, because if there was, I think his talent with camera movement and ways of shooting action scenes would propel him into being one of the better directors working today, whereas I would really consider him one of the more below average ones. With that all being said, I'm going to give F1 a light 3.5 out of 5. What did you think of this film? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please let me know in the comments, and I will see you with the next review. Thank you so much for watching.